Hi, I am Shannon Rene with Authentically Momming, and this is Mothers Are Source. Source, someone that causes or produces life, produces the origin of, a source of energy. As a former single mom, I am extremely passionate about bringing awareness to the truth surrounding the lives of single mothers. Whether you are facing single motherhood or are a single mama looking for some encouragement or needing to feel less alone, a mother needing to be inspired, someone looking to learn and grow in compassion and empathy, a gentle heart wanting to know how to support a single mother, or a heart in need of something inspiring to listen to, this channel is for you. Mothers are our source. We are the source of our children. We are the cause of life. We produce life. Our Creator created us fearfully, creating us beautifully, creating us to be the source life is formed in. For many women, we dream of the day we will become mothers, how we will feel, the overwhelming love we feel for our children, the baby smell, the snuggles, the first laugh, their first word, raising them with someone we love, trust, and cherish, someone we hoped to share our life with and raise our babies with. There are not many women who had it in their hearts to do it all on their own. Becoming a single mother is usually never planned, but happens in many different ways. Please join me as I share the inspirational stories of incredibly strong, brave, and beautiful single mothers around the world. Today, I am going to be sharing a story about a mother who needs to remain anonymous. She is a single mom and she is incredibly strong and brave, and I feel incredibly honored that she chose to share her story with me. So I would love to start by just asking you some fun questions just to get us started and get to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
As a mom, do you have any must-haves in the morning just to get your day started?
I definitely would say I'm not a coffee drinker, but tea. I wake up before my daughter does, usually for school, because
Mhm.
I teach. But I say coffee and then prayer, quiet time. If I'm good, I do my little devotionals, but definitely like quiet time, prayer, and my tea.
Yeah. How do you feel that helps you just get started in the morning?
It just kind of helps me have a calm before the day and just reassurance that since I'm Christian, like God is with me and
Mhm.
that, whatever happens, I'm going to be okay. I have, him by my side and the tea, of course, to kind of wake me up. It's
Yeah.
warm, it's getting kind of cold in the morning time,
Yes.
but just like quiet before, whatever happens. I don't want to say a storm because it's too
Yes.
crazy right
Yeah.
now, but yeah.
Yes. I love that. That's beautiful. Um, and if you could give up one of your duties as a mom, what would it be?
I would say this is going to sound terrible, but probably cooking. It's kind of been the bane of my existence being like a single mom now. I like to eat healthy and it's like, oh, what are we going to cook for dinner? Or like I'm going to cook, my daughter does help a little bit, but it would kind
Yeah.
of be nice to just have, somebody cook my meals or a private chef. And then now that I say that though, cleaning too, but there's only two of us and we don't have a lot, to clean up, but I would say cooking because you got to do that. Like I'm at home, I work from home, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner, yeah, it makes for a big mess.
Mhm. Yes, yes, I hear you. So I always joke with my husband, like when it's a really tough day, I'm like, can we have our chef come over this week? Or can we have the nanny come over?
Yes, yes, I would
We
agree
don't
with
have
that.
either of those things, but hey,
Yes,
maybe one day.
yes.
But yeah, I love eating healthy too. So sometimes like the meal planning and the cooking and the cleanup, like I don't have just like a frozen, once in a while we'll do the frozen meals, but not very often. So usually I'm cooking everything from scratch. So I hear you on that. What is your favorite thing about being a mom?
I would say just watching my daughter grow, like from, infancy to now. She's in kindergarten and just seeing the different stages and her personality blooming and just being able to kind of be blessed with like having a child because I always wanted to have a child. You never know, what your child's going to be. So just watching her grow and kind of growing with her and appreciating each stage.
Mm-hmm. How old is she now?
She is 6.
6. Okay. All right. I love that. And if you could magically have one extra hour in your day that nobody else got, only you got this extra hour, what would you do with it?
I would probably I need to do more planning. So like plan out like goals and just kind of like in the evening time I tend to like, just zone out and just not want to do anything, but probably just like plan for like the days or the
Mhm.
like months and weeks ahead.
Yeah. Yes, planning is good. All right, before we get started on your journey of becoming a single mother, I know that you need to remain anonymous. Can you share with our listeners why you need to remain anonymous?
Yes, my ex has been very vindictive, and I don't know if that would negatively affect like me or my child. So just to protect my peace and my
Yeah.
child's peace and the future of both of our well-beings, that is why I choose to.
Yes, yes. And I just want to thank you so much for being here and just having a heart that's open and willing to share your story. And I just really pray that it really touches a lot of other mamas who need to hear this. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's a blessing to share my story.
Yeah, good. All right. So tell me a little bit about your life before you became a mom. Like, what was your relationship? How old were you? Did you have a career? Were you in school? Did you have becoming a mom on your mind?
I definitely always knew I wanted to become a mom. I think in high school, I was like, "Oh yeah, you have your perfect idea of like when you'll get married, when you'll have kids." And I was like, "I'll be in like my mid 20s." But I knew I wanted to go to college. So college was always first. So I graduated with my degree in business because I'm still business entrepreneurial minded, but I've always loved working with people. So I became a manager. In a housekeeping company, not housekeeping, but housekeeping in like a hospital setting.
Okay.
And so I did that for 4 years and I was moving up the corporate ladder and doing really well. But it was just what, excuse me, it wasn't as fulfilling as I thought it was going to be. And it was really stressful. And so I've always wanted to travel. And so I would look, my friend told me about, she was teaching in Korea, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. But if I teach, I don't want to teach in Korea. I want to go to South America. And she kept telling me about it, telling me about it. And I was like, I'll go to a meeting. I went ahead and got my TEFL certification. And then I went to a meeting about Korea, and I was thinking, oh, there's no way I'm going to go here. It sounds too good to be true. But long story short, I did not end up going to South America. I ended up going to Korea and um, worked there 2 years and really loved it and fell in love with the culture and learned a little bit of the language. And so that's kind of what steered my direction into being in the educational field, which I am now.
Yeah, amazing. You said you got your certification in what?
TEFL, the teaching English as a foreign language.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I actually was going to ask you about your traveling because I know you mentioned really loving traveling, and I was just wondering if you could share with us just some of the places that you've lived, you've traveled to, and also was there anything that you learned about like how they mother in different cultures? Was there anything that was different or unique or something that stood out to you?
Okay, I'll answer the last question first because it does stick out. Yeah, I think well in I can just vouch for like being in like South Korea, but I do know that other cultures do it too. Like I don't know what you call it, like co-sharing as far as like bedrooms and sleeping arrangements and stuff. I always thought like I think more Americanized that we like put the baby in like their own room all the time. And I was like, oh, that's a little bit strange, but it seems like very together and collective that you would have your children like sleep in your room with you, like on a cot on the floor or baby mat or whatever. So I thought that was really neat. And then in Korea and in Japan, because I lived in Japan as well. They had like nursing rooms everywhere at like the train stations and little changing table area. So it was very
That'd be nice.
family friendly, yes, in traveling. And I was like, wow. But thankfully, my daughter, her up until she was 2, was raised in Japan. And so I was like, I wish they would have this in the US. But I
Mhm.
lived her baby years over there. So it was very beneficial. I think the US is getting better with some of that. But just the
Yeah.
cleanliness in Japan was amazing. And back to travel. I I lived 2 years in Korea, and I also worked and lived 2 years in Japan. That's when I was married. I lived in Japan, and then I've traveled all over Asia, Indonesia. Trying to think, Taiwan, had a layover in China, but wasn't able to like really do much there. Vietnam, Cambodia, and then
Wow, amazing.
Germany. And where else have I been? I think I'm missing a few countries, but that's what comes to mind right now. So I do miss traveling, but I mean, with COVID and everything, I totally understand.
Hmm. My husband would be jealous. He loves to travel. Okay. Now, if you are comfortable sharing, how did you meet your now ex-husband, and can you share about what that relationship with him was like?
Yes, I met him online, and at first we just started off as friends. Hold on one second, sorry. Okay, sorry, where was I at?
I asked if you're comfortable sharing how you met your now ex-husband and
Okay.
what your relationship with him was like.
Yeah, I met him online. It was just more so friends when we first met. I was new to Korea. I think he had been there maybe like a year or 6 months prior to me getting there. So I think when he was like, "Oh, I'm surprised you haven't met anyone," and I was like, "Well, I just got here," and so we ended up meeting like every few weekends or every other weekend and would hang out. Going around in Korea and sightseeing. And so it was really nice. It seemed like he was really gentlemanly. We both enjoyed travel. Um, so it seemed like he was compatible, really kind, and we had a lot of the same interests. And we were both, American, exploring all of Korea. So we had fun times over there.
Okay, awesome. So what was your relationship like with him? Like when did you start seeing some like issues?
I would say the first issues, well, okay, because I ended up getting pregnant before we got married. And so that the first thing when I got pregnant, and this is like really me being open, we did not plan the pregnancy, and his first thing was we cannot be pregnant, or you cannot be pregnant. How'd you get pregnant? Which of course we all know how that happens, and like you need to terminate the pregnancy. That was like his. I mean, he wasn't excited at all, and I was like, wow. I knew he had one son, and so I was like, he only has like one son. Like, what's the big issue? And he was like, I can come to where you are, and we can make an appointment. And I really did think on that because it wasn't planned at that point. I had come back from Korea. I lived with my parents, and I was like, it really isn't. But I had really wanted to be a mom. I had gotten my degree, and it wasn't like I was broke. So I thought and prayed about it, and I was like, you know what, this is going to be my decision. And I told him that, and he was just really adamant about me not keeping, the baby. And so I prayed about it. I did my research as far as like doing an abortion or keeping the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember praying for a sign, and I had actually made an appointment to go to Planned Parenthood. And my friend messaged me that morning, and she was like, Lauren, I think you're meant to keep this baby.
Mm,
And I was like, it just makes me tear up thinking about it because I
yeah,
didn't, know what I was going to do, but I just felt
yeah,
like the presence of God at that moment. And I
mm,
didn't go to that appointment. And I'm here, 6 years later, just
yeah,
thanking God that even though the relationship didn't work out, I still have this beautiful child.
yeah.
And she's
Oh,
like a testimony to me in more ways than I think.
thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing that.
You're welcome.
I wish I could hug you right now.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, after I decided, I was gonna keep my child, he realized, okay, well, she's not going anywhere, and I guess, he did have feelings for me, and he wasn't with anyone else
Hmm.
at that time. So I told him, I think it would be good if we moved in together. So I moved with him, and then that was like the first sign of him being kind of like possessive, I guess you could say, or a little bit angry. I had never seen him be angry. And when we were driving it was like 6 hours from where I lived, the state that I was in at that time to where he lived. And I remember he got angry because I was at the gas pump, like taking too long. And I don't remember what he said, but he was like, there's the police. And, you know, my card wasn't working or something. And he was just kind of paranoid. And I was like, well, that's weird. Maybe he's just,
Hmm.
short tempered at this time. But that was the first time I had seen him really upset. And then I remember the second time, newborns, when they're babies are kind of hard with, the crying and the colic or whatnot. And my daughter had been crying probably for a good 10 minutes, 15 minutes when we were making dinner one time. And I remember my mom telling me, she's like, if you ever have issues with the baby, you just, set them down. And so I didn't have her at the time because I was cooking, but he had put her in the bedroom, and this was going on 20 minutes, and she was screaming in red. And he was like, "Don't go pick her up. She's crying. She needs to cry it out." And I was like, "No, our daughter is not crying it out." And he was like, "Well, if you pick her up, I'm going to be really angry." And I don't remember what he threatened to do, but I was like, "You can do whatever you want. This is my child." And I went and picked her up, and she instantly like stopped crying.
Mm,
So at that point, I knew he just seemed like a little, I knew he had like some anger there and a little controlling. But it wasn't until we got to Japan, which was when my daughter was 6 months old, that like the mask started coming off.
mhm,
And that's when I noticed he would like cuss me out for just little things. I remember one day
mhm.
he called me the B word leaving
Mm,
work. And thankfully, my child does not remember most of this stuff because she was like a baby,
yeah,
but just like left. And I was kind of like floored, and I didn't say anything because I wanted to be a respectable wife, but I never really took it to heart. But I was like, this just doesn't seem right. And then
mm,
another time, it was Christmas time, and I had come to the US to see my family. Come back, the Christmas tree was still up. I think it was like January, end of January, going on February. So he had wanted me to put the Christmas tree away, and he was leaving to go to the gym, and he picked up the Christmas tree and he brought it into the kitchen. I was cooking dinner, and he was telling me, if you don't take this effing tree down, what's wrong with you? It's Christmas time. It's Christmas time's over. You need to put it away. You better move this effing tree by the time, I get back home. And I was
mhm,
thinking, who are you talking to like this? And I was getting angry. And I think that's the first time that I like got equally angry with him. And I picked up the tree, and I'm usually not like an angry, violent person. And I like whipped it around in the kitchen. It was probably like a 6 foot tree, and the ornaments were flying everywhere. And I was like, you can, pick up this effing tree, and I will not. I was like, you can respect me and ask me nicely, but you're not going to treat me like this. And he came
yeah,
home, the tree had not moved from the kitchen, and he was like, the tree is still here. I was like, yeah, it is. And then I think I threw it outside, and I was like, we'll just leave it out there because you're not going to talk to me like that.
mhm,
But it was just repeated in small incidents of like little things. There was no like cheating involved. There was no like, things on my part where I can really say that like I did terrible things, and he was lashing out. It was just simple things that he got angry, or he couldn't control me, or he was just he didn't have trust. Like I would go get my hair and nails done, and it would take a long time, and he would accuse me of like seeing somebody else, or why are you trying to get pretty? It was just, for me, women, we like to get cute sometimes, or we like to get our nails done, but I could never like he could never fully trust me. And I thought that was really sad that,
mhm,
there wasn't another man. And I think that he thought that if I got more beautiful, that maybe another man would want me or desire me. And thinking hindsight on that, I think he truly knew that he couldn't, be a genuinely loving person. So if I did find somebody else, that they would be able to love me like he couldn't.
yeah. Mm, okay. Is there anything else you want to share about that relationship?
Yes, I actually did not know that I was in like a domestic violence situation
Mm,
until I knew that there was a problem, but we went to go see a therapist, and we came back to the US, and I remember distinctly like her meeting with both of us, and then her wanting to meet with us separately, and she showed me this wheel of abuse, and I had never seen this before. And she was like, I want you to look at that and like see if anything resonates or stands out to you. And I looked at it, and the half of those things I could check off, but it wasn't the physical violence. It was the mental abuse. It was the emotional abuse. It was financial abuse. And I didn't know that those all equated
mm,
to being in an abusive relationship. And so that was a real eye opener. Like I knew something was wrong, but since I couldn't put a finger on it and I couldn't put a name on it, I didn't even know that I was in an abusive relationship. So
mhm.
sometimes it's just awareness of knowing and then going from there.
Yeah, I think it is really important for people to hear that because I think so often we get stuck in relationships and we feel like we're being abused on the inside, but because it's not like physical, we don't think it's like worth, leaving, and we feel like we need to stay. And so,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So that was a real eye opener. And I was afraid to even, she did tell me, keep this pamphlet, but don't show him. And I think if he had seen it, he would probably have like, been like denying, it, or,
yeah.
he did a lot of gaslighting. So he probably would have been like, well, you did this, and this is why I acted this way. So I just kept that in the back of my, mind
Mhm.
until I was able, to leave the relationship. But that was like the pinnacle, I think, of me being aware and then planning, okay, what is going to happen in this marriage? Does it need to end?
Okay. When did you get to that point where you were like, okay, like this isn't going to work. I need to leave. This isn't going to change.
Well, we were doing group therapy. We were doing family therapy, and he was just, when we would go to the therapist, he was saying that, he was kind of coach me on like, oh, we're not going to discuss this, or we shouldn't discuss that. And I thought that was a red flag. And then the therapist just not being able to get through to both of us, and then him just flat out refusing. So that's when I found my own therapist, and she kind of had shared her similar story. And she was, just told me, you might need to make a game plan of if you do need to leave. And I was scared to leave.
Mhm.
Just because I didn't know what he would do. I do have my degree, but at that time I was only working part-time. So I was reliant upon him financially. House was in his name. We lived with him. The car was in my name, thankfully. So I'm really thankful for that. And I did have my own bank accounts, but he did make me pay for like half of everything. So, and the amount I had saved during the marriage was almost depleted by the time I left the marriage. But I and then that point from when I left, I never came back permanently. So I ended up staying with a few different friends over like a 6 month time span. And that was the hardest just because, um, being reliant on friends, like I never knew that I knew I had friends, but I just never knew that I think like God had just planned it out
Mhm.
for it to happen like it did. I was able to stay with my best friend for a week. And then this is really funny. My daughter's dance teacher, she had shown me her guest bedroom. This was probably like 2 months prior. And
Mhm.
she was like, Lauren, if you ever need a place to stay, here's a room. And it was kind
Mhm.
of like a room that wasn't all put together. There was a bed in there. And I was like,
Mhm.
why are you showing me this? When at the time. And then I
Yeah.
kind of just had to swallow my pride. And I called her, I think the week after I was at my best friend's house. And I was like, do you know that room that you were talking about? I explained the situation, and she was like, girl, I told you that was for you. And she had cleaned that out in like a weekend. And so me and my daughter stayed with her for a good 3 months. And it
Aw,
was just a huge blessing.
yeah.
Because at that point, you can't just rush into an apartment. I had a part-time job, couldn't afford that. And so it all worked out. And then after being with her for 3 months, I was able to do a short-term lease on a nearby apartment that worked out perfect for me and my daughter. And so fast forward now, I have my own apartment, been in here for a little bit over a year, but it,
Mhm.
it, it has worked out. It has worked out.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Um, do you feel that anything in like how you were raised, how you were parented, anything from your past, like kind of led you into this abusive relationship?
Yes, and I definitely like talking with other survivors, if you want to call us that.
Mhm.
It seems like it's a learned behavior, even though we don't think of it that way. But my parents, they have an abusive relationship, more so for my dad, and he's always been verbally abusive to my mom. Growing up, I would just always see him belittling her. I never saw him physically do anything to her, but always like berating her and being controlling of certain things. But yes, yes, my dad was abusive and still is to my mother.
Okay, so they're still together.
They are,
Okay.
yes.
Now, what do you think was different in you that you were able to get the strength and the courage to say enough is enough and leave?
Um, Definitely the counseling helped. And then the wake up call was, I think, having my daughter And after talking to my counselor, she was telling me to like have what are my first memories? And my first memories are being 4 or 5 years old and my parents fighting outside of the bathroom door with the door closed and me not knowing what was going on.
Mhm.
And I remember, instances where me and my ex were fighting and my daughter was just like there, and I looked and I was like, you know what, I am repeating what my parents did, and I don't want her first memories to be of us fighting. And my parents never explained what was going on. I know you don't really talk to kids about that, but I was like, I'm going to change this cycle and I don't want her first memories to be the same memories that I had.
Oh, that's amazing. That I love that. I love hearing that because that's a big part of what I do as a coach is just breaking that generational parenting and breaking those cycles. And so that's amazing that you sought help, you got counseling, you became aware of it, and you changed it, and that's so powerful.
Yes, yeah, it is. Just looking back, and even at that time, I didn't realize how powerful that would be. And my daughter doesn't know this yet, but she's just very much an inspiration for like me right now and
Yeah,
just breaking that cycle.
yeah, awesome. Um, can you share a little bit, just going back to your journey, just as a single mom, like how was your pregnancy, like your pregnancy and like being in like an abusive relationship? Like, was that more challenging for you? Was he supportive, or was it just
Well, at the beginning, of course, he was not, but I think just
yeah,
having my faith and I believe if you have a firm foundation in whatever your faith is and friends and family, that will definitely get you through. So after I told my parents, I was like, my 30 by then. So of course I'm a little bit older. My dad wasn't that happy, but they came around and, they realized, she has a job. I was working two jobs when I was pregnant, actually. And I've always been a hard worker. So I worked two jobs. I stayed with my parents until I was, I think, 6 months pregnant. And then when I moved in with him, um, he was like, the signs weren't there yet. So I think that was kind of still the honeymoon phase
yeah,
because I was doing like a little part-time job when I was with him. But we would cook together. He would kind of dote on me. I mean, he's never been the one to spoil, but I mean,
yeah,
I still didn't know the true him
yeah,
when I was pregnant. So my pregnancy was good. Like I said, the beginning of it, a little bit rough just because I didn't know. But once I decided, you know what, I have my circle of friends and family,
hmm,
and this pregnancy is going to go through, I was happy and I was fine. And I didn't have a rough pregnancy, didn't have morning sickness. Like
okay,
everything was smooth sailing. And then even when I was with him, I had an excellent doctor. So yeah, I don't have any issues, with the pregnancy. And then after she was born, he did help out. He was working full time. So of course I was with her during the day, but my goal was to be able to stay home with her for a year. And I was able to be a stay-at-home mom almost like 3 years, about 2.5 years.
okay, good. And what about your birth, your child's birth?
That
Was
went
that
well too. I am not, I have a low pain tolerance, so I already knew I was going to get an epidural. My mom, she had me and my siblings with no pain meds. So hats off to the women who have no pain meds, but I just knew. So I remember like that morning that I woke up, we had gone on a hike or a little walk the day before. And so I think that helped my daughter come. And my mom, it was me, my mom, and my ex. We went to the hospital that next morning and I just kind of knew. And so I was like, yeah, I'm having these Braxton Hicks and counting the contractions and whatnot. And we got there and they're like, well, I don't think so. And then lost my mucus plug while I was at the hospital. And so they're like, yeah, you're going to go into labor. So I think I rated probably a few more hours because I was like, if I don't time it right to get the epidural, I'm going to feel this pain. So I timed it right. I think I got the epidural maybe at like 4 or 5 in the evening, and then my daughter came at 11 that evening. Yeah.
okay? And what was that like first seeing her and holding her?
It was amazing. Like it's just a surreal experience because it was me being a first time mom, and the cord was actually wrapped around her neck. And when I was doing the research, I wanted them to like be able to do the delayed cord clamping.
Yeah,
But as soon as the doctor got her out, she's like, "I'm sorry, we're gonna have to cut this cord because it's wrapped around her neck."
yeah.
And so thankfully she was fine, but she was a little bit purple, and I'm looking at her like, "Oh, are you okay?" And then she let out a little whimper, and so
Aw.
I was like, "Oh," and cried, and I was just like,
Yeah.
"Hello," and just
Yeah.
it was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Aw, I love birth stories.
And then one funny thing, my mom, she does not like blood and she likes to make light of certain situations. So she was playing bird music, like tweeting birds and like birds chirping, and the nurses were looking around like, what is going on? And my mom's like, I'm just playing bird music, and we just kind of laughed. So I thought that was it was kind of light in the moment because I was so nervous and just made us laugh.
Was it like it was just like to help her, like kind of like a distraction?
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
And to kind of help me too, because I was nervous and my teeth were chattering and I
Yeah.
couldn't feel
Awesome.
anything, but I was like, this
Yeah.
baby has to come out of where? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's funny. Um, and then do you mind sharing what does your relationship look like now with your ex-husband? Is he involved at all?
Unfortunately, not that much. When he had a girlfriend, he was, and I think that was trying to, play like super dad or, look at
Mhm.
me because she had a daughter as well. But now it's very infrequent. Um, he'll see her every few weekends. But the last time he saw her was for a few hours to give her some Christmas presents, but it's usually never overnight unless his mom or sister are present. And he does have a son that he sees more often. So it's hard to compare, but I
Yeah.
feel like, God will bring somebody in that will, replace that situation or,
Yeah.
where the void is. But
Yeah.
for right now, yeah, it's very few and far between. There's phone calls, but it's never like it's not consistent.
Okay. Mm. Do you feel that that has an impact on her at all?
Right now, it does not, and I'm so
Okay.
thankful. I mean, I have very like I said, supportive family and friends, my brother, my dad. There's no other like, person that steps in right now, but I feel like I've just tried to be as strong as I can and keep her
Mhm.
busy. She does school, we go to the park, we just,
Yeah.
typical what you do with kids. So right
Yeah.
now, no, no,
Yeah.
she's,
Yeah.
she's
Okay.
excelling more than I thought.
Good. And do you, I wanted to ask this too about your relationship. Do you feel that it has had an impact on you now and how you live? Like, do you have trust issues or anything like that?
I would say yes, and I had a life coach, and I would like to go back like into therapy. I would say not as much trust, but like wary of people's, men's intentions.
Yeah.
And then I do have anxiety now. Like I never suffered from anxiety before, but I believe I do have like secondary PTSD.
Yeah.
I remember I had invited a friend to go to a workout class with me, and when this would look, I use the word friend lightly because I had just met her maybe a few weeks prior, but I was like, oh, she seems cool. I'll invite her to my outdoor workout class. So anyway, I given her the wrong directions, and she comes up to me and I said hello, and she didn't even say hi. She just gives me this like death glare and was like, I wish you had an iPhone to give me right directions. And instantaneously, I just felt my body like tense up and
Mm,
just start hyperventilating. And it was just like my response to when he would be verbally, abusive and just kind of
mm,
fight or flight
yeah.
sensation. And that was like the first time that it my the sensation or having that would be with somebody else versus him. And so I told myself, I was like, you know what, this is my workout class and this is my piece and I don't have to be distracted by this.
Yeah.
And at that moment I really wanted to leave, but I told myself no, workout is a form of stress relief. So I just started doing my little laps and I felt better. But I do have like bouts of like anxiety, and still if he calls me like out of the blue or like says like demeaning things,
Mm,
I will have like a physical response to that.
yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think I'm scathed as far as, wanting to be in another relationship. I've just been taking it slow and trying to heal myself
Yeah.
before I jump into anything else.
Yeah. That's really important. Good. Um, And then I know you mentioned, like, as far as like what got you through being a single mom, like, it sounds like you had like a pretty good support system, and you were in counseling as and your faith. Is there anything that you really feel strongly that really got you through being a single mother?
I would just say all of the above. God, number one. Number two, my support system. And then in general, I think I have like a very resilient personality. And I try to think positively and realize, you know what doesn't hurt you or kill you, will make you stronger. And I feel like I'm still getting stronger. I'm not there yet, but I've even like looking around where I'm sitting right now, I have these little note cards in my house and they're Bible verses
Mm,
and words of affirmation. Like one of them
yeah.
says, I am a great mom. And I don't always believe that, but my life coach was like, you need to have positive affirmations and you're trying your best. And the fruits of your labor is what shows. Like, my daughter is thriving. So why wouldn't, I be a great mom? We're not perfect, but if we're doing our best, it's gonna show.
Yeah. Awesome. What would you say your biggest challenge is being a single mom?
I would say like being making my own goals and reaching them. I feel like I'm kind of complacent right now. I'm like, not happy, not, sad, but I feel like I'm stable and I really want to go get like my master's degree and I feel like just dealing with the ex and
Hmm.
working a lot and working from home and then with COVID I just don't have
Yeah.
the desire. I have the desire. I just don't. I guess I need some more propelling or like I think if something, God forbid, I don't want anything bad to happen, but I think sometimes something you have to hit rock bottom or something has to really shake you to make you want to step it up. But I would say right now is just like, not pushing myself, to do
Mhm.
more because I do have a support system, but I don't have anyone helping me at home.
Yeah.
When I'm tired, there isn't anyone to really take over. She doesn't have a constant babysitter. So it's just a lot of like self motivation.
Hmm. Yeah. I understand that. Have you ever felt that as a single mom that you're judged at all by others?
I would say yes, but I try to associate with people who are kind of like me and not judgy. And
Mhm.
a lot of my friends, when I was not a single mom, were married or with their
Mhm.
significant other. And I remember one of them, she was just telling me this was before I became a single mom. She was like, "Oh, you should stay in the relationship and just, pray about it."
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, are you in this relationship? Like, do you know what I've gone through, mentally and emotionally? And I'm not, I don't talk to her that often anymore, but I just realized, some people you just grow out of relationship with them. And if they're not motivating you, you just kind of have to grow into new relationships.
Yeah.
So now I feel like if you're gonna, judge a single mom or judge me, who are you unless you've been
Mhm.
in that situation? And if we're not embracing and helping each other, there's no sense in like pointing or having judgment. So I'm really not affected by it as much because I try to surround myself with people who understand my
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. That's good. That's so good. Is there anything like as far as married couples or moms with partners, like is there anything that you would want them to know about being a single mother?
Number one, to not, judge them. And then number two, just to ask them if they need something. I think for me, it's, self-care days, like, somebody to watch my daughter or, being invited places. I don't
Mhm.
always, even if I per se, don't have a spouse or, significant other, I do enjoy going out and doing things. And it can be very isolating. I know now with COVID, it's kind of hard, but even a phone call or
Yeah.
just, hey, I was thinking about you, that is so encouraging and uplifting just to know that people are thinking about you, are
Yeah.
there for you, and it's just community.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, that was my next question actually, if there's any, ways like how can a friend support a single mom? So that's great. Um, were there any resources that you feel really helped you or are helping you as a single mom?
Um, well, when I first left, my pride was kind of getting in the way, and on my own, like as a couple, we did not qualify for like any government assistance.
Mhm.
But when I left, my friend was like, "Oh, because my daughter was under 5 at the time, you should apply for WIC and food stamps." And I was like, "Well, I don't, I don't really need that." And she was like, "You might need it. You're working part-time,
Yeah.
you're minimum wage." And so at first I was like, "Yeah, I don't, I feel like I was taking advantage." But then when I got it, I was like, I really do need this because I don't have a lot of money right now. I didn't have enough, saved up to pay for rent. So it really did offset the cost. So um, I did, get on food stamps and got WIC until I, needed it. Didn't need it anymore. So that, and then I haven't really, I would like to look into like what scholarships are available,
Hmm.
or programs for like school, like I don't know if there are for, getting my master's degree.
Yeah.
But I haven't joined like any single, I'm on Facebook, I'm in like some single mom groups
Yeah.
and some like divorce groups, which definitely helps with
Mhm.
questions and just support and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay. And are there any resources that you feel that like are we don't have or you don't have access to that would be helpful?
I would say like schooling ones, and I don't know if they're out there, in my state, but
Mhm.
just, something to encourage, schooling or to help with, childcare expenses, whatnot. I know they're probably out there, just haven't looked for them. I know in my city there's a group called the Jeremiah Project or Jeremiah Group. I haven't looked. I was looking for it actually to apply for a job, but I know they help single moms with housing and education. I think it's for like children 5 and below. And I was just thinking, I was like, that would be an awesome resource because if you
Yeah.
do not have the support system, you're not going to be able to pay for school. How are you going to be able to pay for childcare? So definitely there needs to be, help out there for us, for those who do not have a
Mhm.
strong support system as
Yes.
others.
Yes. Yes, for sure. And then what about any resources that helped you as far as overcoming being in an abusive relationship? Like I know you said you were in counseling. Is there anything else that you feel helped you?
I reached out to some advocacy groups in my area. It seemed like they focused more on like physically abusive things, and then like some of them just seemed a little like invasive, like I don't know, like they were just acting like I was really in danger, and I'm like, I'm okay, I just want to figure out if there are resources. So I don't know if they just were stigmatizing like, oh, we got to treat her like this, and it was just a little bit
Yeah.
awkward and I was just kind of put off by that. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely advocacy groups are good. A good resource, I think, just to help get awareness. And then I think I had gone to one group for that, and there was a lot of women who had left or were in the court systems and were like had to be in it. But just to hear some of their stories, I think
Yeah.
being able to be around other women who have been in the same situation to strengthen each other and learn from each other is really good.
Mm, yeah, for sure. Um, if you could go back on your journey, is there anything that you feel that you would change?
Probably, let me see, just doing more research and going through like my divorce and understanding the process and like what to ask for as far as uh, I'm trying to think like weekend sharing and information. Like at
Yeah.
first I didn't know where she was located when he did have the girlfriend. So just logistical stuff. Cause I think everything else, you just don't know. Like I
Mhm.
don't go back and think why. I do think back like why me, but I don't think, why did this have to happen? We just make choices and we don't always see the choices, but I feel like if sharing my story can help someone else overcome this or even not get into this similar situation and see red flags, then I've
Yeah.
accomplished something.
Yeah.
Your cat.
Yeah. He likes to join me.
Cute.
um, and I would love to hear about your life right now, as far as like your career, your relationship with your daughter. Are you happy? Are you in school? I know you talked a little bit about it, but
Yes, I currently teach high school students a college readiness course. I've been doing this is my second year now. I thought I was just going to do it for 1 year, but when I went through my divorce and being a single mom, I had applied to a job in a different city to get my teaching certification and got into that program because I wanted to be a teacher because I have my bachelor's degree, but to be a teacher, you have to get certified. And
Mhm.
so then this job came along and I was like, okay, a job that pays a little bit more that instantly puts me, somewhere. versus just a training program that doesn't get me money. And being a single mom, I was like, okay, I'm going to take this route. So
Yeah.
that's what I've been doing. But I know I've kind of plateaued and there's no moving up. Like I work for a nonprofit, there's no moving up in this current position. And I don't see the other positions available that would kind of link to what I want to do next. But what I would want to do next is be like a career coach or career counselor for college, like entering college students. So I would like to go back and get my master's degree and see what that looks like. I was thinking college, like high school counselor, but where in my state you currently have to have a teaching certification for that. And I've been quote unquote teaching since 2011, and that's not my calling. I really want to focus on, meeting the students more for their educational higher ed goals. And I do work with high school students now, and that's really kind of my niche. And I
Yeah.
think even like at the community college level, it would be
Yeah.
neat to do. So that's what I'm I guess saying it out loud that I need to start looking into that because that's really what I want to do. I've been
Yeah.
knowing that for about a year now. So,
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. And I remember like being in college or trying to figure out like what I want to do and this and that. And like, you have those people who you can tell are like really passionate about it and want to help you. And then the other ones that are just like, they're just, it's
there
a
for the
job to
job.
them.
Yes, yes.
So I
No,
think that's important.
so I hope I need to start doing my research on that, but that's really what I would like to do. My daughter's in kindergarten. I would like to, she loves to dance and she pretends she has her own YouTube channel.
Aw,
She doesn't, but she
that's
likes to
cute.
play Roblox with her friends. They make little videos together, and we haven't done like a lot of like classes since COVID. But I really would like
Yeah.
to get her involved in some extracurricular dance or music. She's very smart. She's already reading. And since I work in education, I kind of have like extra materials for her to do. But she's doing online school right now. We've been back and forth in the classroom, but there's been a lot of
Mhm.
sickness at her school, so now
Mhm.
she's in online school. But we like to go to the park, watch movies, play games. I'm teaching her to ride her bike. She's almost on two wheels now, so that's one of my goals for her.
That's
We
awesome.
like to cook together. Um, she's really affectionate. I'm not the most affectionate person, so she teaches me, to
Aw.
love in that way. But I'm blessed to have her. She's an excellent child.
Oh, I love that. What's your like connection with her like how is that?
We're very connected and children are so in tune, with you and she can always tell like, "Mommy, are you sad?" or,
Mm.
"Did I make you angry?" And
Yeah.
and she knows and you can't really, lie to children and I'm like, "Yes," I don't always explain why, but
Yeah. Yeah.
she really is in tune with that and we like to have fun together. She's more outgoing, I would say, than I am and kids
Yeah.
definitely have a lot of energy, but she just puts a smile on my face and some days when
Aw.
I'm like frustrated or even like I'm angry at her, she'll
Yeah.
just be like, I see that smile and I'm like, oh my gosh, child.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Aw.
I mean,
Aw.
I think she just inspires me to, I want her to be a strong woman and to realize that, how a positive relationship is supposed to look like within friends and within the significant other later on and even like with her friends I'm seeing some she seems to be like the timid type and I'm like no if a friend pushes you you got to tell somebody and she'll
Yeah.
like tell me like way later. I'm glad she does,
Yeah.
but she's very trusting of me and of course I think you should have that, but I want her to be able to continue that relationship as she gets older to know that if you have any issues, like I always tell her, I'm your first teacher, your mom is your first teacher,
Yeah.
and so if I don't teach you, somebody else is going to teach you, or if I don't do a certain thing, the world is going to teach them. So that's one thing that I have to remind myself. We might not want to have open discussions with our children, but who else is going to teach them?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think that's so important because you really want them to learn things from you first, so you can
Yes.
teach them and show them like what you know and what you believe and not, hear the wrong thing from somebody else. So I think that's so important. Um, and do you feel, I know your daughter's young, but like, do you feel that being a single mom has impacted her in any way, as far as like not having a constant male figure in her life?
I would say, I don't know, but I do know, she knows that I don't want to be single forever. And she does, tell me if there's anyone else that comes in, she's really not going to be welcoming of them.
Mm.
So, would you like to punch them in the face? Those were her quote words. Um, so it's going to be different. And I do pray that whenever, I am blessed with somebody, and I'm very picky, I have, dated, but I do not introduce her like to anyone just because you don't know these days. And I don't want her thinking, oh, who's
Yeah,
this? Who's that? Like,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
So, I'm in a lot of mom groups and I see like these discussions, and then I've been at schools and heard, the polar end where the male has done something to the children,
Mhm,
physically, and I'm like, I do not
mhm.
want that to happen. That, that's, I think, a parent's worst fear.
Yeah,
So it is a little different. I just, take it slow and pray that, whoever is meant
yeah,
to be will just know by signs and
yeah,
whatnot that, yeah, I think taking it slow and getting to know people before introducing anyone to your child is, huge.
yeah, yeah, I agree. Um, what are your goals, dreams for your future? I know you've touched on as far as like your career goals. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I would like to. I was a homeowner when I was married, but I would like to be a homeowner again. Hopefully be in a bigger apartment. We're in a one-bedroom apartment now, and with me working from home, kind of outgrown it.
Mhm.
So hopefully bigger home in the next, when my lease ends. I would love to be married again. Getting a little bit older, so I don't know if children are in the mix, but that would have to be like in the next few years if that happened. And then if not, just embracing my own child, possibly, adoption in the future. I don't know. And then I do realize, I have a kid. So if I was with somebody with the kid, possibly being a mom, to that child. So
Yeah.
that would be a challenge. I don't really think that's ideal, but I think, whatever works out,
Mhm.
hopefully it would be, for the best. Because I know when you merge families, that can be a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Um, what is the most important thing that you want your daughter to know?
that she is loved beyond measure and she can do anything, she wants to. And just to, stand up for yourself and be strong. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Um, do you have any advice or anything that you would want our single mom listeners to know?
To definitely keep your head up. I know we have good days and we have bad days, and some days we feel like we just, don't want to do anything.
Mhm.
And just to get your support system. I think the biggest thing for me has been having a support system, whether it be just a friend you can call on, even friends online. Just having a support system and having, your faith in something positive. For me, it's
Mhm.
God, and I know there's all different religions, but just staying positive and trying to, find, helping resources if they're out there. Do not swallow your pride and, oh, I don't need this.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might need some help. Like my brother, offered to pay my cell phone bill for a while, and then my
Yeah.
mom had offered, something else. And then when I went through my divorce, somebody had helped pay, and I'd even ask them to help pay for those fees. So I think if you have faith and you just, let the universe or let God know, okay, I'm really trying, I need help with this,
Mhm.
it will, you just got to seek out, resources, but they are out there.
Yeah. Yes. I think that is so important because there's so many like I'm the same way. And still to this day it's something I'm working on is like accepting help and also when I need it asking for help and for whatever reason that's something that's really hard but it's so important especially as a single mom being able to accept and ask for help when you really need it.
Yeah. And then even like coming full circle, I remember one time I think my friend had like won some money somewhere and he gave me some money and something was on my heart to give the money to a friend. And it was like $100, and I'm like, well, I could use this, but I was like, do I need it, and what is this tugging on my heart to give it to her? And she's a single mom too, so I gave it to her, and
Mhm.
I didn't tell her what it was. I think I just put it in an envelope in her baby carriage, and she was like,
Mhm.
Lauren, she messaged me later, you don't know how I needed this, and I think she had a bill or
Aw.
something. So I was like, wow, when you give to others, it always, I don't ever expect it, but it always
Yeah.
comes back like,
Yeah.
to you in a different way, even if it's just like peace, like
Yeah.
somebody had a need and you met it.
Yeah.
And that's like just the most rewarding, just knowing that, somebody you loved on somebody.
Yeah. Yes. I love that so much. Um, I'm also really passionate about working with teen girls and just kind of empowering them to know that like it's okay to say no to dating at a young age, saying no to anything you're not comfortable doing. Is there any
Yes.
advice that you would have for teen girls as far as, staying abstinent and staying away from having sex?
Yeah, you don't have to give in, to teen peer pressure. Waiting is good. I didn't per se wait, but I mean, looking back, it's a lot to carry. And when you are in a relationship with someone, especially physically, like, I don't know if they've heard of something called soul ties, but it kind of ties us to
Mm-hmm.
them, and you don't want
Yeah.
to carry around that baggage. So getting to know someone, I think, is the most important part, and that can be outside of the house, talking with them, etc. It doesn't need to be physical intimacy.
Yes.
And your teens are times to hang out with your friends, get to know yourself, hone in
Yeah.
on your skills. You have a lifetime to, be intimate.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I think it's like you can learn so much like as a teen, just getting to know what you like and what you don't like, and what you want in a husband, and just, and I always say like dating, just if you want to date, date in groups. Like don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to be tempted.
Yeah. And
Um,
pregnancy and STDs, they are out there.
yeah,
So,
yes, they
yeah,
are.
yes,
And I
it makes
always
you grow up
like,
fast.
God has his like, how we should live, and waiting, like all that is like for a reason.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Can you share your most proud moment as being a single mom?
I would say just being able to not be reliant, like my happiness on like another person. Like, I'm in my apartment. I do get child support, but even if I didn't, I would work three jobs to just to have the life that I want to live. So I think just being able to know that I work hard for, having my house, having my car,
Yeah.
um, being able to just have a decent, lifestyle and working hard for it and realizing that I let somebody steal my joy, but I'm not going to let anyone steal my joy anymore because you cannot put a price on like happiness and joy. Of course, money buys you things, but at the end of the day, like the joy in your life comes from, being with people that you love,
Yeah.
doing things that you love, your passions. Yeah.
Yes, I love that so much. And is there anything else you would like to share before we end?
Just to be encouraging, and I'm just glad to share my story. I think I said a lot. So,
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share your journey. And you're just so brave, and your story is so just powerful and inspiring. And I just really appreciate you taking the time to do this for us.
oh, no problem.